What is the internet? This is the question I want to discuss today, and by using the capabilities of my own mind and trying to get a deeper understanding of the topic. And if we are really lucky, then we even get a deeper understanding of ourselves and reality, or the reality that we are living in. It's what I'm doing here. It's obviously also about the topics. I think it is very interesting to have a deeper thinking about big questions and about topics that I at least think are important. But in a higher way of looking at here, it's more about the way that you can think about things. So there's a baseline to it that I was seeing the mind as a tool. So, and at least it seems to me like this is not that common yet in our society and in the time that I'm recording this video, because from what I'm observing in the internet and with the people that are part of my life, friends and family and so on, that many here in the West, where I'm from, and this is also mainly the media that I consume, they are identified with the mind, and they are unable to separate their thoughts and ideas about the world separated from their identity. So they are identified with these things and are often unable to remove an idea and get another one, even if they are presented like with unreal evidence that it's complete bullshit what you're believing. They're still unable to remove or let go of ideas that they're having about the world. And I think this is a gigantic problem for all of humanity, which is resulting in the moment in many of the problems we are at least seeing in the media space, with all this disinformation stuff and so on and so on and so on. So this is basically the root of all these problems that popping out now and you're seeing when you turn on the news. So one of the root causes, in my understanding. Yes, and to come to the topic of this recording, the internet. What is the internet? Maybe something came up in your mind. What do you think what it is? Could be, it's a data stored on servers or something, no? A very materialistic way of seeing it, or maybe scientific in some way. Or maybe you would say, it's a social connection in some way. What I think, in essence, what it is it's the collective human consciousness. So, and you can access it with this technological device that most of you, maybe all of you, are possessing and taking around with them every day. And isn't that unbelievable? Just imagine, you would go back now a few hundred years and try to explain to someone what that actually is. Think about it. You go now 500 years to the Middle Ages. You go to, let it be a city. And then you're presenting them this magical device you're holding, and you're explaining to them that you have access to nearly, or most of the information humanity gathered ever, which is fucking ridiculous already, and you are connected. If you want to, theoretically, you can be in contact with every other person that is connected to this network too. So, and this is at this point in time nearly the really big majority of humanity. So it's unbelievable. And the strange thing, from my perspective, what is happening is that until now, there is no real discussion in the public sphere about what that actually means for humanity and the further development of our species. Because as this is with such universal things, you are so like dived in it, basically, if this is an accurate description, that you don't even see that you are part of it. So it is so fundamental, and it became fundamental so quickly that now you're not even realizing how big of a part of your life and your individualism it already became. And it is with many things that are really fundamental. For example, how often do you think about the air that you're breathing? Probably now, because I mentioned it, you're like, now you can feel your breath suddenly and like, oh, I'm breathing, oh. But I guess before I said it, you didn't even realize that you're actually breathing in and out. There was no awareness of it. So, and it's a little bit similar. It's getting actually at quite a level of this fundamentalism, if you want to say it like this, with the internet. So it's so obvious around every one of us that you don't even realize that it's there anymore. And only because now I reminded you, then now it gets into your awareness. So, but then you very quickly realize you have actually little understanding about how profound this is. And now there's a real difference here between the air that we are breathing and the internet, because the air was there, if you take the scientific way, I don't know, at least 1 billion years, I think. Or no, probably when the first trees came. Let's say a few 100 million years. Yeah, don't have the exact data in my mind now. Whatever, you can research it. But definitely, since humans here around from the scientific perspective, and even if you have another story that you want to tell how humans came here, it doesn't matter, because I made a video on that too. From the beginning on, there was this air, and it was quite similar than the air we are breathing today. So, but the internet is around us only a few decades. So, and really in the like that it gained a majority, it is probably somewhere around the start of the millennia, actually. So, and since then there was no real discussion what this does with us and with us as individuals. You have now, of course, these talks about it, but it's more like symptomatic. You're talking about, what is social media actually? Is it harming us? Or what about this misinformation? Or what about overload of information? So, but you're already seeing these are all like leaves of a bigger problem in some way, or a new reality, and this is the internet. All of them are connected to it. So, or pornography too, for example. This is a real big new thing that's coming into this reality, also only a few decades. So, but they're all rooted in this new reality that you are now connected, and this is probably even since 15 years, since smartphones, to the internet at all time. It's so thin, the timeline, that we are in this reality now, and it is like there's a thing that is as fundamental as breathing air that is new to all of humanity since a few years or a few decades. And no one is really talking about it. Isn't that crazy? Let that feel through you a little bit. Because what I believe, what I already said, I think it is the collective human consciousness. And that means in a transcendent way that there is awakening now somehow a new being into this reality that is humanity as a collective. And no one, from my perspective, seems to understand what this actually means. Because from a political view, and this is what surprises me so much, that no one in the positions of power is deeply thinking about this, because it changes the whole fucking game. Because before we had the internet, your stories that you put into the world about a political system, about nation states, about philosophies were valid for power and control. But now that we that everyone can be connected to the collective human consciousness, nothing of this is really valid anymore. And I think it could be that is what we're realizing right now with the chaos we are witnessing, you are witnessing, I think so at least, with all the craziness that's happening right now in an accelerated way. It's like there is an old humanity dying and a new one is arising and being born, and that is what's happening right now here. Why we have all this chaos, because all these systems and people are getting more and more confused, because this was on the core of their identity. Who are you? And then they said, yeah, I'm a German, for example. Or maybe if you're really modern, I'm a European. Or I'm a communist, I'm a capitalist. And I also made a video about these things in the past, if you want to check that out. So, but this is really, these are the core structures of identity, of even, not even the people, but groups of people. This is bigger than the individual itself. That these were core identities of collectives. So, and all of them are slowly dissolving now, and that's why we are having all the chaos. And then you have these new identity philosophies, but on the other side, the old ones are trying to fight a last time. What we're seeing now with all these conflicts, which are based on very old ideas that are dying, and that's why this is the thing. Like when something is dying many times, and it's having a last fight. But people are slowly realizing that it doesn't fit together. Like, because you can always put a counter argument, and then you think like, yeah, okay, nation state, what does it even mean at this point? I grew up in Germany, and you have so many cultures here, like right now, and I grew up, and I was traveling also around a lot around the world. So I met people from nearly every country on the world. So through my 30 years of life that I've been on this planet here. So, and then what does it even mean to be a German or something, or to be an Australian or a Russian or a Chinese or whatever? So it is slowly dissolving, because now we are all part of this bigger sphere of existence, which is the internet, which is, from my perspective, the collective human consciousness, and this invalidates all the base ideas that you had, because it just doesn't go together anymore. Yeah, okay, of course there is some arguments to be made. This is not what I want to discuss right now. You have these big cultural issues also with traveling and with tourism and with refugees crisis and so on. But this is, again, I think it is just another symptom of this root problem, which is the introduction of the human consciousness to each and every single life on the planet. Human life. Yeah, to keep it simple, because obviously we're not the only living organisms on the planet. No? It is for another video though. Yes, and I believe that all these big problems you are seeing in the news are, in essence, you can trace them back to this one thing. And there is no discussion about it. There's no discussion about the core issue that we are facing, and this is the collective human consciousness introduced into the individual life. And I hope at least with this video I'm doing a first step into doing it, and I hope it will spice up and light up the discussion one step in a time, obviously, because as I see it, this is maybe the most important thing that needs to be discussed right now, because without it, when you talk about migration, when you talk about over-tourism, when you talk about nation conflicts that are crashing again, even religious conflicts, when you talk about smaller things like veganism and so on, or social media addiction, porn addiction, if you don't introduce this aspect that we are just for a few years, a few decades part of this new reality, you will never come to the understanding of the core issues of the problem. in my belief, in my understanding. If you have a better view on it, please tell me. Please write your ideas in the comments. I would be very happy if that would happen. Yes, and then I hope it was valuable for you in one way or the other. And if you like these kind of philosophical discussions I'm having here, then there will be most likely another video at a time in the future.